Leadership Institute. Neighborhood Leadership Institute is an organization, and I'm proud to say I helped found several years ago in the 1990s. That is a group of citizens from all throughout the city of Cleveland. And they approached me about wanting to do something about regulations around making sure we have healthy menus and healthy diets for children in the city of Cleveland. Therefore, the first thing that they brought to me is the sugary drink legislation. The sugary drink legislation that brought to us wants to give a default option of water, sparkling water, 1% low-fat milk, as well as 100% juice in options. And if a parent wants to reward their child with a soda or something of that nature, they have to specifically request it and buy it on their own. We believe this gives our children a healthy start. We are trying to change culture in the city of Cleveland. Therefore, this legislation is important, and I want to bring the co-sponsor of this legislation, my good friend and colleague from the Ward 7 area of the city of Cleveland, Councilman Bashir Jones. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it. I want to say a thank you to James and Valerie who came to me with this legislation, and just growing up in the city of Cleveland, in neighborhoods where the majority of our food options were fast food restaurants and local corner stores, and it was dinner and breakfast and lunch and snack and so forth and so on. And we didn't know it at the time, but as we got older, we began to see the impact of food. And we understand that food is medicine. That's what it is. Food is medicine, man. And at the time, I didn't know it. I didn't understand what was happening to me as I was drinking these sugary drinks. I didn't know. I just didn't have the intelligence at the time or the wisdom at the time to tie in my inability to pay attention in class to the big fruit. I'm not going to even say fruit, but the big sugary drink. The correlation between this drink and my inability to pay attention in class was very clear. And I'm sure if we go on and on, we will find that there is a correlation between the food that we eat or the lack of healthy foods and the impact of our decision making and how many of people who come from neighborhoods where there's not a lot of options that end up incarcerated, end up committing crimes, I'm sure that there are studies out there that we will find this correlation between the food that we eat and the actions that we take. So I've had people email me and they say, Councilman Jones, there's much bigger things to do than this. Why are you wasting your time talking about this? This is not important. Well, these are the things that I was elected to do. The things that maybe everybody is not thinking about, but just because you're not thinking about it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact on you or on me. So I'm very, very appreciative of the American Heart Association for reaching out to me, and for everybody out there, man. When it comes to certain things like this, you're gonna find a fighter in me, and you're gonna always find that in me. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to fight for something that's so important. And even if parents don't quite understand why, what's the big deal between putting this and making it optional? And so what's the big deal? It's the small things. It says, my elder told me it's the small drip that can drill a hole in the mountain if it's consistent. So even if you think it's small, if it's consistent, it has an amazing impact. So I'm so thankful to you guys. I'm thankful to the Beverage Association and other groups who came to be a part of this. It showed the collaborative effort that it's going to take for us to make Cleveland a better place. It's not going to be one way. It has to be all of us collectively coming and say, you know what, let's share in the responsibility, because we all share in the responsibility to make sure that our children have a better future than us. So thank you so much. And I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones, and I appreciate all of my colleagues that supported this. We had a very rigorous debate about this. We actually had two hearings, and then we had several convenings with council members as well as other members of both the Ohio Beverage Association, Restaurant Association, and several meetings with the American Heart Association. Now I'll pivot to the American Heart Association and their representatives, and I believe we have James and Valerie, and then we'll pivot to Marie Jones from the Neighborhood Leadership Institute. So James, you have the floor.
It's actually going to be Valerie Gates that'll speak for us, but thanks, Chairman.
Ms. Valerie, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here today. I'm Executive Director of the American Heart Association, and I'm very thankful to be here. So every day, the American Heart Association is working to be a relentless force for a world of longer and healthier lives. We're striving to save and improve the lives of all Americans. And so like you've just heard from the councilman here in Cleveland, we are challenged by higher rates of obesity, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. And unfortunately, these conditions are not just for adults. And so we knew we wanted to focus on the children. The Heart Association and other groups have worked on healthier kids policies in other states. And so we introduced the idea of the healthy default drinks policy here in Cleveland over a year ago. The first and probably most important thing that we did was to connect with the other groups across the community and really get a lot of people engaged on this issue. This included community groups, parents, advocates, healthcare providers, dietitians, restaurant owners, and more. Groups like the Neighborhood Leadership Institute, who's with us today, the Children's Hunger Alliance, the American Diabetes Association, they've all been there every step of the way. And there are actually more than 40 groups in total that have been a part of this. So I feel very honored to be speaking today, but know that there are many more behind this effort. So this coalition of supporters really built awareness around the health impact of sugary drinks. They listened to community members' concerns about their children's health, and they called on City Council to pass the healthy default drinks as a way to help address the issue. So together as a coalition, we also held productive discussions with the Ohio Restaurant Association and Ohio Beverage. And the end result, we feel, is a policy that reflects the latest and greatest science on kids' nutrition, but also through collaboration is sensitive to those who must implement the policy. We did all this even before COVID hit. So since March, the persistence of the team and the coalition has helped keep the issue front and center while we waited for the appropriate time to move forward with council. When that time finally came, our champions in City Council provided leadership and finished the job. So I am just so proud and thankful and want to extend a special thanks to each of you, Health Chairman Griffin, Councilman Jones, and really the entire council who voted on this unanimously. So we look forward to working together with the health department and try to be helpful as they educate all the stakeholders to implement the policy. And, you know, I think it's just the beginning. I've heard you both say there's more work we can do together. So let's keep talking.
Thank you so much, Valerie. And we do have more work to do. So thank you so much. I'll pivot to one of my favorite organizations because I was groomed in that organization of community organizers, Neighborhood Leadership Institute. And Marie, you have the floor.
Yeah, get all the stakeholders.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Griffin. And I'm just so excited too that we were able to participate in this most important initiative and now policy. And we'd definitely like to thank Councilman Jones for your co-sponsoring the bill, the Health and Human Services Committee, and the entire Cleveland City Council for taking the steps on behalf of Cleveland's kids. Neighborhood Leadership Institute has been a member of the coalition from the beginning. Like Blaine said, that we got Don Slocum, the founder of NLI, to weigh in and to called together a meeting, and we were underway making that connection with the American Heart Association and Cleveland City Council. NLI basically did what NLI does, which is educating the community, educating and inviting them to engage for change. And so through that, we provided information at health fairs, at after school sessions. Our navigators, as they were going out contacting pregnant women, took the cards out along with the information that they received from a training to engage, to educate and engage everyday citizens. Because I think that that is really paramount to us also getting traction and moving forward with the many health initiatives that we're going to look at building in this space through Neighborhood Leadership Institute's Healthy Communities. So we did sessions. We even did a session at one of these schools as neighborhood resource sites, having the children actually make sugary drink displays. That was a blast. We had a herd of kids running in along with their parents trailing behind, so that they could get a visual image of what the sugary drinks are. And we played games and provided information to both parents and children in a way that was engaging and memorable for them. And we would like to definitely acknowledge our navigators who gathered over 300 postcards as parents, everyday citizens, signing up and saying, we want this to happen. We want healthy kids drinks to be a default, and because we want our kids to have a healthier option, healthier opportunities. And so we're very grateful. So thank you again, Chairman Griffin and Councilman Bashir and the whole of the Cleveland City Council. We are very grateful, and we are anticipating partnering with you. I think that this is such an amazing, just one drop. In fact, I remember a poem by Nikki Giovanni. Part of it says, 1 ounce of knowledge benefits like a ripple on a pond. And so I'm excited about this small ripple that we anticipate will be also a building block to help us address the health equities, and also a building block, one of the little pieces that connects with the racism as a social racism as a public health crisis. And so helping us to address that. So helping to address the disparity. This is one drop on the pond that will make much ripple. Yes, Councilman Jones, many children will have better attention in the classroom just because of this one simple little thing. So thank you. We're excited, and NLI is in it for the long haul. So we're anticipating doing some more work and helping Cleveland and Northeast Ohio be healthier. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marie. And I really appreciate you guys really helping to educate the community on this. I know your reach goes far. The next person we're going to bring up is a person who, I really enjoy working with. She stepped in and rolled up her sleeves and really just did everything we've asked of her, and really brought along her industry along with other industries. So at this time, I want to bring in Kim McConville from the Ohio Beverage Association. Kimberly McConville, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I feel like it's a love fest for Councilman Griffin today, but well-deserved. So I represent the non-alcoholic beverage industry statewide, and we're an industry that doesn't shrink away from uncomfortable or difficult discussions, particularly when we sit at the same table with our friends in public health. It can feel uncomfortable, but we look at it as an opportunity to educate stakeholders on how we approach these really difficult problems. Instead of running from them, we apply some really core principles. We like to give consumers as much information as possible. So every bottle, pack, and can that we produce has a clear calorie disclosure on it. And we back up that information and enable consumers to make informed choices by giving them a lot of choices, things that aren't just full calorie soda necessarily, but low and no calorie drinks, waters, juices, teas, smaller portions of old favorites that can be a wonderful treat once in a while, and reformulated products with less sugar. So there's always something new on the horizon. And our member companies spend a great deal of time and a lot of intention talking to consumers, talking to moms in particular, and trying to find ways for families to achieve that balance that we all agree is so important between what you eat, drink, and do. So we acknowledge as an industry that our beverage calories are a piece of the puzzle, if you will, to getting to better health outcomes. Even though we're really only 6% of the average daily caloric intake in the American diet, again, we recognize there's a role for us to play. So we were so thankful at the graciousness of Councilman Griffin, the willingness of the public health community in Cleveland to have us sit at the table and talk about these broad beverage portfolios that we have and the efforts that we've taken again and again and again to help consumers achieve that balance. We've been working on ordinances like default healthy kids beverage choices around the country. So I think that, and I heard, Councilman, you'll appreciate this, I heard from colleagues, gee, that thing in Cleveland seemed to be really not very adversarial, and everybody actually talked and, was willing to put ideas on the table. So I wanted to, again, thank you and Council President Kelly and Councilman Jones for paving the way and setting the tone on an important issue that didn't necessarily need to be adversarial. So we're thrilled to be here. And I think I'll probably give you a good segue, Mr. Chairman. At the end of the day, we're always happy to support our restaurant partners. And I just want to give a shout out to all the Cleveland restaurant owners and all the restaurant owners across Ohio who are struggling mightily during the COVID-19 crisis. My heart goes out to them. Our members are with them every step of the way to support them. And I would be remiss if I didn't say you all are doing an incredible job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, and I really appreciate that segue. I do want to take a brief moment to also acknowledge, and I apologize, I don't think he's on the phone, but the milk producers also reached out and helped contribute to this as well. So I do want to acknowledge them, and I apologize, I forget the executive director's name. Kimberly, can you remind me?
Yes, that is the wonderful Mr. Scott Higgins.
Scott Higgins. So Scott Higgins also helped contribute to this. So I want to acknowledge Scott from the milk producers. And I do want to just also echo what you just said about the restaurant owners. Councilman Jones and myself, as well as all my colleagues, have a lot of restaurants and small businesses in the area, and a lot of them are struggling. But one of the things that all of them realize, as well as we realize, is that we know we have to come out of this better than we went in. So we look at this as an opportunity, even though we're dealing with a pandemic and a crisis and these restaurants are struggling. This is an opportunity that I just want to thank them that they embraced to come out of a situation like this better. So Mr. Bowen, we all echo the sentiments of Kimberly, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Griffin and Councilman Jones. Thank you both for your leadership. I think Clevelanders are very fortunate to have a strong elected leadership, a really strong public health leadership, as reflected by the group that came together here, a really great local health department, and of course, great restaurants. And one thing that I do want to say, Councilman Jones, your passion in every conversation we had came through. I really appreciated that. And Councilman Griffin, just the way you shepherded this through, if all public policy followed that path, we would have better public policy, not just in Cleveland, but around the state. And I really do appreciate that. appreciated very much working with the American Heart Association, all of the local health officials that came together to this table. And I do think we ended up with a piece of legislation that will not only really put a strong emphasis on health and safety for our kids, which is so important, but also is something that restaurants and the beverage, our supply chain can implement and get strongly behind. And we're proud to have been a part of that conversation. And I do appreciate you bringing up how much restaurants are struggling. Restaurants have always been committed to health and safety, whether that's food safety, our nutrition getting better every year. And then certainly in this most recent pandemic, kind of the social distancing safety that we all have to observe. And Ohio's restaurants are very committed to that. And I also appreciate Cleveland's leadership on things like expanded patios. You have been great supporters of the restaurant community in many ways. We'll need more support going forward, but it really is appreciated. And I'm proud to have been a part of this legislation and proud for opportunities to work with you guys going forward.
Thank you so much, Todd. Really appreciate that. I'll sum it up before we take any questions. Kimberly touched on it. When I talked to some of my colleagues in other cities, and the council president talked to some meeting of council presidents the other day, they said that this issue in some other cities was so contentious that it almost killed some council people. It was so stressful. It was also very contentious, and sometimes they didn't get the outcomes that they wanted. I believe this puts children first. This is clearly an effort that puts children first. But as Valerie said earlier, we were very cognizant of making sure that the people that were responsible for implementing the policy and the people that are responsible for putting the supply chain together to make sure that we have healthy default options in the city of Cleveland needed to be at the table as well. So this is what a collaborative effort and a strong piece of legislation looks like. And the outcome has to be that our children can have a better future and have less problems with pre-existing conditions. So that being said, I will take any questions from any media members that we have, and please acknowledge yourself and what media outlets you are in. And myself, my colleague Bashir Jones, or any of the panelists will be willing to take any questions you have. I see we have Fox 8. Did they have any questions, or did anybody else have any questions about this issue? All right. I'm going to make sure everybody knows that you can always view this video on City Council's YouTube page, or you can always go to City of Cleveland, Cleveland City Council's website. And this video, as well as others, will be available. If you have further questions, please contact Joan Mazzolini from our press office, and Joan will direct any questions and get the response for you if you need to, or you can contact any of us directly. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of our numbers. One more time, any questions before we go? Any closing remarks from any of the panelists or any of the participants? Councilman Jones, any other closing comments?
No, we just gotta get to work. So no, this is great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will tell you that this Committee of Health and Human Services won't stop at this. We're going to do whatever we can to eliminate disparities in health in the city of Cleveland. Marie mentioned that my colleague and myself were also sponsors of another piece of legislation that declared racism a public health crisis. And as everybody talks about these little things grow into an amalgamation of insurmountable problems that we have in our community. And that's the reason why we don't want to piecemeal this, but we want to look at everything from a comprehensive approach, because we are going to make Cleveland the greatest city in the nation. So thanks everybody for joining us. And once again, if you have any follow-up questions, please contact us. And I'd like to thank everybody, all of the partners on this call who helped make this legislation possible. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.